Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Apurva Gupta, Senior Consultant Gynecologist practicing in South Delhi. I run a clinic called Gynec Edge Women's Clinic in east of Kailash, and I'm attached to Senior Consultant Gynecologist with the Rosewalk Healthcare, Panchshiri. Welcome to my today's session, and thank you for sparing time for it. Today is a special day indeed. It's the 21st June to 2020. And why is it special? Of course, because we are celebrating the 6th International Yoga Day together. But it also happens to be the International Music Day. And of course, it's the longest year of the day. And coincidentally, this time it also happens to be the Father's Day. So a big shout out to all the fathers who are doing a wonderful job. And mind you, Father's Day is a byproduct of our beautiful branch. I hope you all enjoyed the beautiful solar eclipse today. Now, let's get to the point. In today's session, I shall be talking about how yoga can benefit especially gynecological problems. So we all know that yoga is an ancient Indian science, right? And it's not just a form of exercise, it's a way of life. So yoga tells you how you can keep yourself physically fit, how you can be mentally fit, and how also you can keep yourself spiritually updated. So this concept of International Yoga Day was started by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. He conceptualized it and first declared it in the UN Assembly in September 2014. And today's session, I would like to open by his wonderful speech because it's very apt and relevant to all of us. The speech that he gave in UN Assembly, September 2014. I'll have to read it out, so just bear with me. He said, "Yoga is an invaluable gift of India's ancient tradition. It embodies unity of mind and body, thought and action, restraint and fulfillment, harmony between man and nature, a holistic approach to health and well-being. It is not about exercise, but to discover the sense of oneness with yourself, the world and the nature. By changing our lifestyle and creating consciousness, it can help in well-being. Let us work towards adopting an International Yoga Day." So we celebrated the first International Yoga Day on June 21st, 2015, and today is the 6th International Yoga Day. Okay, so this ancient science of yoga, which has originated in India, has now come a long, long way. And now the world is recognizing its benefits. And today we are conducting a session which will tell you about its benefits in gynecology. So a woman's body is a Pandora's box indeed. It is one body which undergoes tremendous changes right from the day the girl is born to the day she dies. You know, you're a young girl, then there are changes in the body that occur during puberty, during reproductive years, during pregnancy, childbirth, and the postnatal period, and then during perimenopause and in menopause. So there are lots of changes a woman's body undergoes. There are tremendous amount of hormonal changes. There are different physical challenges that a woman faces all through her life. So how yoga can benefit each aspect is what we shall discuss today. But before we go to gynecological problems, why not just discuss something which is the physiology of gynecology and the most important aspect of our branch, that is pregnancy and childbirth. So now, as I said, even in pregnancy, it's a very special time for a woman's body, but it's physically, emotionally, hormonally, spiritually, in every way extremely challenging for her. Her body undergoes lots and lots of changes, and she's carrying a huge amount of weight in her abdomen. So by virtue of which there are postural changes occurring in her body. You know, the back has an exaggerated curve, which makes her prone to backaches. There are chronic fatigues. There are chronic pains. Generally, she tends to get more tired than she would otherwise. There is also some amount of irritability, some amount of negative emotions, which may kind of predominate. So a lot of things, feeling low on energy, a lot of things happening like this. So if you do the right kind of yoga that your yoga teacher tells you, so the right kind of yoga throughout the trimesters, gradually it helps you build your stamina. So as you build your stamina, it also gives you good energy, good amount of flexibility. And as your stamina builds, the amount of fatigue that you experience kind of begins to decrease, and you feel very good and energetic and very agile, as we call in Hindi, the spurti of the body kind of increases. as you do regular, consistent yoga all through the pregnancy. Also, special asanas which can relax your back will significantly reduce back pains that one may experience during pregnancy. Also, if you're doing the right kind of abdominal muscle exercise or yoga which is strengthening your abdominal muscles, so as the baby begins to grow bigger and bigger, it will not produce that much stretch onto your abdominal muscles, and you will be able to carry the baby with a better abdominal tone, right? As a result of which, the chronic pain, that the dragging pain that some women experience all through their pregnancy, or a feeling that the baby has gone down, it's just moving down, a lot of patients would come and say that, doctor, I feel my baby is just going down, it's just going out of me. That's because you have a poor abdominal muscle tone sometimes, right? So right amount and the right technique of doing the abdominal exercise can make you hold the baby much better. Also, there are certain asanas which can improve your digestion, as a result of which the chronic acidity or the reflux issue that a lot of us face during pregnancy, that can also be taken care of by the right amount of, the right kind of exercises. We also recommend some kind of breathing exercises in pregnancy. Gradually, these exercises increase your lung capacity. So what happens in pregnancy is the baby is occupying most of your abdomen and then pushing your diaphragm up, right? As a result of which, breathing becomes heavy. So if you increase your lung capacity, the work of breathing with time increases. So your breathing becomes less tiresome for you, right? Because many people feel they're not getting enough breath during pregnancy because of mechanical compression. So all those things can be taken care of, and as your body gets more oxygen, you automatically feel more regenerated throughout your pregnancy, right? Also, it's very important to do the right kind of pelvic muscle exercise. As you do the right pelvic muscle exercise, you can hold your baby better. Problems like, incontinence of urine or not being able to hold your urine, all those things will also decrease with time. It has been scientifically proven that regular yoga stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system in the body. So what happens in this nervous system is, it's the soothing nervous system, right? So what happens is, once this nervous system gets activated, there is less amount of stress that you experience, there is less amount of anxiety that you experience, and also women get good sleep if they do regular amount of yoga. These are all scientific facts that we are sharing with you, right? So all this then gradually leads to more mental and emotional peace, and overall a relatively, what I shall say is a holistic and a more wholesome and a pleasurable experience all through pregnancy that one gets. So important is consistent amount of yoga, consistently doing it every day. Even if it's little amount, you need to do it every day, and tailor the yoga according to your trimesters. So your challenges are different in your first trimester, they are different in your second trimester, and your challenges are different in your third trimester. And so is your capacity to do the yoga and to endure the exercises, right? So you should keep on tailoring them according to your body's requirements. And these amount of exercises then make your pregnancy a relatively smoother experience for you. So this was roughly about how yoga can help you in your pregnancy, but a very important aspect is that how yoga can also aid in achieving a natural vaginal birth. So we always prefer that the physiological way of birthing is a natural vaginal birth. So we always encourage women to have a natural vaginal birth, and doing good amount and right amount of yoga can actually aid you in that process. Now, how is that so? As I said, if you do regular yoga, regular exercise, number one, it builds up your stamina and your muscle strength. So undergoing or giving birth naturally is not that easy in process. You need good amount of stamina. When your doctor asks you to push, you really need to push. So you really need to develop good stamina, because you don't want to get tired right at the moment, because there's no way we can just pull it out. You have to kind of, give us the right amount of support by bearing down your baby when you're asked to. So building your stamina and muscle strength plays a vital role in trying to achieve a normal birth, or giving your doctor that support so that you can have a natural birth. Also, as I said, the abdominal muscles, they build up their strength. So as you push, the abdominal muscles can contract better. Abdominal muscles, I mean the muscles of your tummy. So they can contract better if you have built up good strength in them. So as they contract, the baby can also push down much, much, much better. And your pelvic muscles can also build up, and they also support the baby and form a very good pelvic platform for the baby to, come out. The right amount of yoga also gives flexibility to your body. So assuming those postures which are required to birth naturally, sometimes it gets tiring for some women if they are in that posture for a longer time. So if you have done the asanas the right way, then your body becomes flexible, and also you're better coordinated as to what you expect, how to do, and all the coordination, the muscle strength, the flexibility, all this put together, it will definitely aid you and your doctor in you achieving a natural birth, which is a very, very important point. And even the lung capacity, natural birth plays a very, very important role, because you can take in a good deep breath, and then you can, once you're full of oxygen, you can nicely push when required. So it's so much necessary for you to do consistent yoga all through pregnancy, because we all want that your experience of pregnancy and birthing needs to be really, really pleasant, right? During pregnancy, during childbirth, yoga has helped you. But does it also help you after your childbirth, in the postnatal period, as we call it? Definitely so, because once you give birth, all the women are worried because they want to kind of, tone up and come back to normal body shape. And the one question that I think 100% women ask in their first follow-up is, doctor, when can I start to lose weight? When will I begin to look normal? Yes. So, we do not advise you to diet in the immediate postnatal period, because we want you to breastfeed your baby as much as possible. But yes, once you get a green signal from your doctor, the right amount of yoga can help you tone up your body much earlier. So, you want to look good, you tone up your body, you firm up your muscles, your skin begins to look better, and gradually you also achieve weight loss, which everyone looks forward to after childbirth. Also, in postnatal period, if you do regular pelvic muscle exercises, problems like urinary incontinence, which many women, some women do face after a natural childbirth, it becomes difficult for them to hold urine, or if they're coughing and sneezing, they may pass some drops of urine, right? So if you're doing good pelvic muscle exercises, especially in the postnatal period, your pelvic muscles will regain tone much, much earlier than other patients. And if they regain the right amount of tone, these problems which you may face in the immediate postnatal period or even in your later life can be catered to right then by doing all the pelvic muscle exercises and pelvic toning exercises in your postnatal period. Also, the chronic fatigue and tiredness and the non-specific body pains that one experiences in the postnatal period can be taken care of by doing these exercises. And yoga also gives you mental and spiritual relaxation, because the postpartum period is extremely challenging for a woman, because she herself is a patient, she's undergoing a physical trauma, as in even if you've had a natural birth or if you've had a cesarean, you are yourself a patient, you're recuperating yourself physically. Plus, you're a new mother, so you're emotionally very challenged and worked up, and you want to do the best for your baby. The baby is not allowing you to sleep in the night, so you're not catching up on good sleep, you're not getting good rest. Plus, there may be certain dietary restrictions in you. Plus, your hormones are not supporting you because there's a withdrawal of hormones. So, sometimes irritability, depression, negative emotions are taking over. So, at that point in time, nothing seems to be working right for them. So, postpartum period often gets really, really challenging for women. So, at such a time, if you have a practice which can give you holistic healing and discipline you holistically, it can prove to be very, very fruitful. So I would highly recommend some amount of yoga and postnatal exercises in this period. They help your abdomen become flatter, they help you look good, they help you feel good, they help you recover much, much faster and feel normal. So, your motherhood experience would feel as effortless as it could be, and that's what you want it to be at the end of the day, right? Okay, so generally we spoke about certain aspects of pregnancy, some aspects of childbirth, and about the postpartum period. Now, a few disorders that I would like to just generally focus on in gynecology. where yoga can be particularly useful, apart from the general benefits that yoga offers to all of us and especially to women, because I said women have a very dynamic body and which goes through lots of ups and downs. But I'm sure many of us have heard of a disorder called the PCOS, or the polycystic ovarian syndrome, or sometimes we call it the polycystic ovarian disease. Yeah. So the incidence of PCOD is really rising these days, and amongst the importance of exercise and other disorders, but in PCOD, the exercise holds special role in this disorder called PCOD. So yoga is also a form of exercise which can be used in PCOD. So what happens is PCOD is basically a hormonal disorder, and girls experience symptoms like irregular periods, or they may experience facial hair, male pattern of hair, and obesity. So these are some symptoms of PCOD. Some may have some may have the others, but generally this is the symptom complex of PCOD, right? So what happens is a lot of hormones play a role in PCOD, but there is a chemical called aromatase. Okay, now this is stored in many areas of your body, but it's also stored in the adipose tissue. Now, what is adipose tissue? It's the fat. It's like the fat, okay? So, amongst other places where it's stored, it's also stored in the adipose tissue. So, when you exercise or when you do yoga, you burn your fat, you burn the adipose tissue, and so this chemical is released. And why this chemical is important? Because this chemical has the potential, or it's the catalyst to the reaction which converts the male hormones in a woman's body to female hormones. So, let's make it very simple. You've got some good hormones, you've got some bad hormones. When the hormonal milieu gets altered, or when maybe the bad hormones are more than the good hormones, there is some disorder. The ovaries are not able to function properly because they get confused in this hormonal milieu, and so they are not producing an egg every month, and so you're not getting your period regularly, right? Now, our body has the potential, it has got that chemical reaction which can convert the bad hormone to the good hormone. But this happens fairly slowly in our body, okay? Now, if we exercise, by exercising, we release that enzyme called aromatase, and this catalyzes that reaction, by virtue of which the bad hormone gets converted into the good hormone much, much faster, right? So, your body by itself is correcting the hormonal milieu, and once the hormonal milieu gets corrected, the ovaries would respond to the right hormonal milieu in the right manner, and then you automatically begin to get your periods rightly if you have a mild to moderate PCO, right? So apart from the other treatment that your doctor will give you, exercise has a special and a paramount role in PCOD, right? So whatever we may do, if there is a potential cure for PCOD, definitely it lies in good amount of yoga or good amount of exercise wherein you burn your adipose tissue. So I'm sure some of you have been affected with PCO. Whenever you visit a doctor, your doctor must definitely be telling you, you need to exercise. The target that's given normally is 10% weight loss in 3 months, right? And but once you understand why you need to do it, then your motivation levels are much higher, because in PCOD losing weight is actually a little more difficult than it is for routine people who are not affected by the disease, right? So often patients get low on motivation pretty soon, which is totally understandable. So that's why once you understand why you actually need to lose weight and why you need to exercise and do the yoga, then your motivation levels are much higher, and so you can sustain the exercise to the point of benefit. I'm so sure about that. And yoga and exercise have actually scientifically proven to improve ovarian function. Right? So good quality eggs released at the right time, fertile eggs, good viable eggs. So they have scientifically proven to improve ovarian function. So we definitely need good ovarian function in our reproductive years. And I think ancient Indian science has given us good ways to be doing that. So now automatically if ovarian function is going to improve, we all have to understand that even in infertility, that is trying to get pregnant. Now, what shall I say? The incidence of infertility has risen in modern day science. There are many causes for infertility. If a couple has been trying to conceive and are unable to conceive, there are many reasons. The most common reason that we face is maybe inadequate sexual life and a lot of stress, anxiety, and target-oriented approaches like, people decide when they want to get pregnant, and if they don't get results in that small window, then people get restless. So apart from organic causes, like there could be some hormonal problems, there could be some structural abnormalities, there could be the male factor. So apart from this, there are also environmental factors, right? So yoga plays a very, very important role. It will aid the treatment of infertility. Your doctor, I'm sure, is giving you the right supplements or the right whatever treatment needs to be done. But yoga will aid you in your treatment for infertility because yoga is known to correct your hormonal balance. Okay, so it's known to maintain the right the hormonal metabolism or the right amount of hormones in the body, and it moves the hormone balance towards the positive side. Okay, and that's one reason. Plus, it generally balances the metabolism in the body. So, once your hormones and your metabolism is balanced, there are a lot of microbiological things which are involved in conception and implantation and somebody getting pregnant. So all those microbiological things we can't even scientifically document, right? So once your hormones and your metabolism is taken care of, these little microscopic things, many of them get set in the right way that we wouldn't even realize how it's, helping you. Plus, as I said, yoga is a holistic teaching. It's a holistic discipline, right? So it makes you better connected with your mental and your spiritual self. So if I just put it in very layman words, your brain has a hormone center, it's got an emotion center, and it's got a stress center. Let's just consider they are next to each other, right? So if your emotions are not correct, or if you're stressed out because of something, then automatically the hormones get affected, and hormones are very, very delicately balanced in the lady's body. Little bit haywire and the hormonal system goes for a toss. So if you're de-stressed, and if your emotions are right, and if you're spiritually, mentally feeling, emotionally feeling good, then automatically your hormones also play the right role. They are well balanced and they do their job well. So all these things automatically aid you in getting pregnant easily. Also, yoga gives you positive attitude. It's known to improve your sex drive, so leads to a better life, a more contented life. So all these things then kind of give you the other factors, and positive attitude and all these things help you in conceiving much earlier and much better, apart from the treatment that you may be receiving for infertility, generally from your doctor, right? Okay. Also, as I mentioned, I would like to elaborate a little bit on the SUI, or the stress urinary incontinence aspect. Okay, so a lot of women complain of stress urinary incontinence. Now, what is stress urinary incontinence? This is when a woman may cough, or when she may sneeze, or any such thing which may lead to increased intra-abdominal pressure. There may be leakage of few drops of urine. Now, most of the women initially try to ignore the problem, okay? And there may come a point where it may become socially embarrassing, or it may become difficult for them to do their daily activities. So most women seek help at that point. Now, stress urinary incontinence is it's something which it's really difficult to correct just by medicines. The final resort is surgery, but we can very well prevent it by good pelvic muscle exercises. Okay, so now, as I said earlier, there are certain exercises, there are certain asanas which come in yoga also, and there are certain pelvic floor exercises in which one has to hold the pelvic muscles, pull them up, hold them for say 40 seconds and then release them, and then again do that, and then hold the muscles for 40 seconds and then release it. Maybe you can repeat it 20 times morning, 20 times afternoon, 20 times evening. So if you do this exercise consistently all your life, then the chances of stress urinary incontinence will significantly decrease, because these are exercises which produce minuscule effect every day. So by exercising 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, 20 days, you will not notice any noticeable difference. But yes, if you consistently do these exercises, then over years you will notice a difference, such that you wouldn't have to probably face this embarrassing situation. And most common times is post childbirth, and even during menopause, many women face this kind of problem. So it's quite preventable. Many cases would get prevented by the simple pelvic floor exercises. So I urge all women, young and old, to do these pelvic floor exercises and start when young, start early in life, because once you start early in life, only then you can prevent this later in life. Because once we start doing the exercises after we've developed the problem, definitely they'll be useful, but they take longer to be useful, and it's tougher even for the exercise to attack once to solve once the problem is already set in. So prevention is always easier than cure. Even for an exercise, prevention is always easier than cure, right? So another important aspect of a woman's life is menopause. And there is a perimenopausal period, and then there is this menopause period. So perimenopause is that period when a woman's body is undergoing certain menopausal changes, but menopause hasn't yet arrived. And menopause is when a her period for at least 12 months in a row, right? That's the definition of menopause. So during this time, body undergoes tremendous amount of changes. So just as when the periods set in, we call it menarche, body undergoes a lot of changes. It may take a year or two for the body to adjust to the arrival of periods. Similarly, the departure of periods, body takes about a year or two sometimes to adjust to the departure of periods. So a lot of changes one may see at that time. There may be weight gain, weight increase. There may be less agility in the body. There may be irritability. A lot of bodily changes like losing body luster. There may be some hair loss. There may be some wrinkles in the skin. So, so regular exercise at this time can make your transition period, your perimenopause period and your menopause period easier to cope up with, right? So your mood swings, your external appearances, your urine problems, and also many women during the menopause period may develop some comorbidities, like somebody may develop a hypertension, somebody may develop diabetes. So regular amount of yoga will also help you tide over the other comorbidities which may be age related, which one may develop at that time. Many women at that time may begin to develop certain heart problems or cardiac conditions. And yoga is scientifically proven to improve your cardiac function or your heart function, right? So all these, even during the menopause period, and many women get prone to a little bit of depressive tendencies at that time. So yoga releases those chemicals in the body, which I've also mentioned. They're called endorphins. So any exercise, including yoga, releases chemicals called endorphins in your body. Okay. Now endorphins are natural antidepressants. They are like happy chemicals. So if endorphins are released in your body, one day they increase feeling of positivity and positive emotions in your body. So we call them natural antidepressants, and regular amount of exercises, that's why is associated with a feel good factor, right? So which is important at every point in time. It's important when you're young, it's important when you've had a childbirth, it's important during pregnancy, but it's very, very important at the time of menopause, because there are a lot of other things that are happening with women during menopause. Children may be leaving the house and going abroad to study. Somebody may be losing elders in the house, plus you're coping up with your own health conditions. So if you have something which is supporting you in your spiritual and emotional feelings, then it's really, really it has a very positive impact on your lifestyle, right? So these are a few things, and maybe one would like to hear about how yoga is also known to have beauty enhancement effects, right? So it improves your blood circulation, it improves, as I said, positive chemicals. So you may, people who regularly do yoga definitely have more glowing skin, better quality of hair, less wrinkles, and good facial glow, and all these things is something that definitely makes all of us kind of feel really good. And one important advantage of yoga is the chronic aches and pains that most people experience these days, the chronic fatigue, the chronic aches, the chronic pains, not able to get good kind of sleep. So yoga is of paramount importance in combating all these non-specific symptoms which can create hell of nuisance in our lives, right? So as I said, yoga activates the parasympathetic nervous system, so the levels of stress and anxiety reduce and one gets good sleep, and your chronic aches, chronic pains, apart from whatever vitamin deficiencies you may be having, they have to be corrected. But once everything is in place, then definitely yoga will help you take care of these things, and it will complement all the treatment that you're taking and make you have a much richer, healthier, contented, and a more pleasant lifestyle to be with, right? So if we were to just kind of, I say, if we were to enlist benefits of yoga, of course, they are endless, but few important points that I would just like to, reiterate as benefits of yoga. One, it improves your stamina. Second, it improves your muscle strength all over the body. It gives tremendous flexibility to your body, to your muscles, to your joints. It increases your muscle coordination and also your mind-body coordination. It helps you in weight reduction. It helps you in combating chronic pains and aches. It helps you in maintaining positive or the right hormonal balance. It boosts your immune system. So people who regularly do yoga have actually about a 30% better immune response to diseases compared to people who are not doing yoga regularly. So it boosts your immune system. It improves your digestive system. It balances your metabolism. It increases your lung capacity. It improves your concentration and your focusing powers and also memory. So this can be of particular importance to children and to the working class, because it's really nice to have good focus and good concentration and good memory. It gives you mental peace and calm. It reduces your stress and anxiety. And it gives you a wholesome, holistic approach to life. I think there's nothing more we can ask for from any branch of science, right? So, what are the main takeaways for yoga? One needs to start young. Start yoga as early as possible in your life. Even children should start yoga. Next, be consistent with your practice of yoga. So most of us, this is the challenge point, because one may start with great enthusiasm, but after 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, or maybe months or 2 months, because other things take priority over the yoga, because it's going to show you results very, very slowly. It's not, the results are not tangible immediately, right? So because it's showing you results over a period of time, then many a times it happens that, people just, after a month or 2 months, people kind of don't continue with the yoga. So important is to remain consistent, even if you're doing little bit, but you need to do it every single day like your other daily chores, right? So that is the second most important takeaway. And the third, I think, important takeaway that I would like to give is that you need to adapt your yoga according to your chronological age and your circumstances. So children, when you're a child, you need to have a different kind of yoga. During your reproductive years or your young age, you have a different kind of yoga. During pregnancy, you need to tailor it accordingly. Post childbirth, you have different asanas. During menopause, you need to tailor it, because the needs of your body, the challenges of your body are different. The capacities and capabilities of your body and also its limitations keep changing with your age and your circumstances. So you need to adapt your yoga accordingly, be consistent, start young, adapt your yoga. And I have seen in my practice, women who regularly do some amount of yoga, consistently do some amount of yoga, have a much more comfortable pregnancy, childbirth, menopause. Generally, all phases of life are much, much more comfortable. So I urge all of you on this International Yoga Day to begin, for those who already do it, to be consistent and continue your practice of yoga. And a shout out to all of you who are already doing it. And for others who haven't yet started doing it, I urge to today pledge that you will begin and encourage others to do some amount of yoga and incorporate it in your daily chores like eating, drinking, going to the washroom. You must do yoga every day, right? I would really thank all of you for joining this session today. There are a few questions that I can see on my screen, so I would just take them one by one. Okay, so there are some people who are watching. Okay, there is no, okay, I just have updates of people watching. Sorry, there are no questions really as of now. Okay, somebody is asking, what can we do for PCOD or missed periods? Yes, so I mentioned this earlier. PCOD is a hormonal disorder. So what happens is once as I said, there are good and bad hormones in the body. So once the proportion of the good and the bad hormones gets altered in your body, your ovary gets very confused. It gets different hormonal signals than it's used to. So it doesn't know how to react. So instead of one egg which is produced every month, the ovary kind of recruits more eggs in every cycle, but none of the eggs, I would say, ruptures out. And because no egg is released, there is anovulation. That is, the cycles they are eggless cycles, right? And because the the cycles are eggless, the uterus gets confused and you don't get your periods regularly. So it's kind of a complicated thing. It's hormonal and a lot of metabolism also which gets altered in PCOD. So depending on what are your symptoms of your PCOD, what's the grade of your PCOD, how bad it is, whether it's an obese PCOD or you're lean and thin, you must consult the doctor, and the doctor will tell you what is the right treatment for you. But whatever treatment may be given to you, you could be given insulin sensitizers, you could be given contraceptive pills, you could be given some supplements. But whatever is being given to you, weight loss, or I would rather say exercise, is of paramount importance in PCOD. So you must regularly exercise. If you're obese, you must target to lose 10% body weight in 3 months by active exercise. And if you're not obese, then still you should regularly exercise because it improves your metabolism. As I explained earlier in the video, it improves your metabolism and pushes your hormones, intrinsic hormones, to get pushed towards the positive way. And once the hormones get intrinsically corrected, automatically, most of the times, many a times, automatically the hormones get corrected and automatically when begins to get period, and the PCO significantly gets corrected, right? Does the psychological issue have any relation with breast and cervical cancer? Now that's quite interesting. So cancers in the body are generally caused because certain cells, they overgrow, or they grow more than they should. There is nothing to inhibit them. So normally they happen because breast cancer normally happens because of certain defective genes, and cervical cancer normally happens in women who've previously been infected with human papillomavirus. But generally, in recovering from any illness, a good positive mental attitude and a good immune system is required to recover from any illness, why not be it cancer, right? So in your holistic healing and your exercise and your psychological impact, good mental attitude, good spiritual attitude, all this good immune system, all this is definitely going to help you aid your treatment and overcoming in all whatever illness one may be having, even if it's a cancer, right? So, okay. So yes, yoga definitely improves stamina. So can we get relief from period pain? How do we get relief from period pain? Yeah. So painful periods is a common problem. Most of the times the painful periods are physiological, as in it's normal to have some amount of pain or discomfort. But for someone who's having extremely or intolerable pain, you must see a doctor. We need to rule out certain conditions, certain organic problems that could be a cause of a painful period. Somebody could have certain infections, chocolate cysts, or there are some other causes. There may be a general cyst, or there may be some thickening, or whatever. There are many causes which can lead to painful periods. So once we rule out those causes, that you don't have any organic cause of painful period, then we normally deem the painful period as physiological or just normal variant of pain that one is experiencing. In that case, your doctor will prescribe some painkillers which can be taken during your periods. And yes, there are some yoga asanas which the yoga gurus claim improve period pain, and or also there are two aspects. One, they improve the period pain, and second, they also increase our endurance to the pain. So overall, you may experience less period pain, both with the help of your doctor and with the help of your exercise, which can be done. So can yoga be done in the first trimester of pregnancy? This is a very, very relevant question. It can be done in the first trimester of pregnancy, but you must take it with a pinch of salt. There are a very limited number of asanas which can be done in the first trimester of pregnancy. And also you must take a green signal from your doctor. You shouldn't be having any complications of pregnancy, right? If you have a low-lying placenta, or if you've had bleeding, or if you've had any other complication, then your doctor will advise you not to go in for any yoga. Why not first trimester, even second or third trimester? Particularly in the first trimester, because the baby is forming, we normally do very limited amount of exercises in consultation with an expert. Yeah. Okay, so I think I've answered most of the questions on the screen. Thank you all so much for joining me today, sparing your precious time. Please do like my video and subscribe my channel. If you have any questions, you're free to put them in the post box. I shall get back and answer them as soon as possible. Just when I was about to finish, there is another question here which I would like to take. Is it normal to have generally longer menstrual cycle lasting 7 days? Okay, so normally women have about 2 to 10 day period cycle, but most of the women would have an average cycle of 2 to 6 days. If you're having longer cycles and if you're having very heavy bleeding, I would recommend that you once see a doctor, so that we rule out that there are no other issues. You could be having fibroids, you could be having some cysts. So once we rule out other causes of you having longer periods, then or whatever is the cause, we shall treat you accordingly for you having longer periods, right? Okay, have a nice day everyone and stay safe. Bye-bye from Dr. Apurva. Bye.